disputes, cases like yours. I mean, I was sitting in the back just now watching this whole thing develop, and to be quite honest, both of you have really strong cases. And now, since I'm judge and jury around here, it's time for me to settle or rule on said case. So tonight, right here in this ring, we're going to have a match to determine the number one contender for the world title. In one corner, it's going to be you, Joe. And in the other corner, it's going to be you, Bobby Roode. Now, the winner of this match is going to go on to face James Storm for the world title next week when we take the show to Macon, Georgia. Ta-ta for now.
And now, more Pro Wrestling Weekly with your host, Ferran Derry.
Sit down, shut up, and listen up.
I forget how mean that sounds. Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB. Might have to edit that Bully Ray clip, get something else in there, because I'd like to think that I don't sound nearly as mean as Bully Ray does with that. I mean, I hope that you listen up, but I don't necessarily want you to shut up, because otherwise it'd be just me talking, and nobody should be put through that. Definitely not. So Dan chimed in during the break. His memory when it comes to Halloween Havoc from the past, and this is certainly a notable one from back in 1998. He put on the Facebook page, 1998 Hogan versus Warrior. Ouch. LOL. Yes, that was certainly a bit of a dreadful match. The rematch 8 years in the making that by that point nobody really wanted to see. But Hulk Hogan beating the Warrior as opposed to the Ultimate Warrior, because that was trademarked by WWE at that point. And, the rematch, the infamous rematch from WrestleMania 6 that finally happened at Halloween Havoc 98, where there was outside interference and flash paper that was supposed to explode in Warrior's face that lit off right in Hogan's face and even burned and singed a little bit of his mustache. And Horace Hogan came out and hit Warrior with a steel chair, and that helped Hollywood Hogan get the win, avenge the loss from 8 years earlier, which a lot of people think was the only reason why they brought Warrior in, so Hogan could avenge one of the few people who beat him, who he hadn't had the chance to beat. And I don't know whether there's any substantiation to that, but looking back at 98, that was also because of all that stuff that happened with Hogan and Warrior. The pay-per-view ran long, and nobody thought to make any adjustment with the scheduling, so in the middle of the main event, the WCW World Heavyweight Championship of Goldberg against Diamond Dallas Page, the pay-per-view, the pay-per-view companies at the time, they cut the feed right at 11 o'clock, and thousands of people lost that pay-per-view feed because it was running longer than scheduled, and because of that, WCW aired the entire match for free on Nitro the next night. That was at the height of their popularity, too, and they made a rather notable gaffe like that. So, a couple of memorable moments from Halloween Havoc 1998. Certainly want to get your thoughts on all the various Halloween Havocs, what you remember looking back, and hopefully some of the videos that I put up on Pro Wrestling Weekly, the Facebook page, hopefully they'll be able to help with that. We'll take a little bit more of a look at that in just a moment, but I also want to let you know, I know the weather's a little bit treacherous, at least here outside here. We've got snow in October. Who would have thought of that? But it's not too terrible that you can't make your way on over to the Oxford Valley Mall, because going on today, starting at 1 o'clock, I'm sure people are already lined up for this one, you can meet the one, the only, Trish Stratus. That's right. Get stratified today at Oxford Valley Mall from 1 until 3 p.m. She'll be doing autographs and photo opportunities, courtesy of George's Cards and Collectibles. Of course, the former WWE Women's Champion turned yoga guru. She'll be at the Oxford Valley location, the new George's Cards and Collectibles 2 in the Oxford Valley Mall today from 1 until 3. She'll also be bringing her new release Stratosphere Yoga DVD, and that's for the first time here in the U.S., so you definitely want to check that out. Be one of the first in the U.S. to own a copy of it and get it autographed. and that's over at Oxford Valley Mall. Trish Stratus, former WWE Women's Champion, over at Oxford Valley Mall today from 1 to 3. Drive on over. You can still listen to me here in the car, and I believe we also have various internet ways that you can listen via your iPhone or Android or other technical things that I'm still working on learning. Speaking of technical things that I'm working on learning, you can get archives of the show now on YouTube. Just type in the search engine WBCB Pro Wrestling Weekly. Let's look back at the rest of the Vengeance results. I mentioned the main events earlier. In the undercard, you had Air Boom beating Jack Swagger and Dolph Ziggler to retain the tag team titles. I figured that this would be a good place for Swagger and Ziggler to take over, and of course they didn't. But Ziggler at least got one win that night. Doing double duty, he retained the U.S. title, beating Zack Ryder. Also, Beth Phoenix beat Eve to retain the WWE Divas title. Sheamus beating Christian, and Miz and R-Truth beating Triple H and CM Punk, with a little bit of help from Kevin Nash, who's now back in the picture. You have to wonder if he's going to be involved in some capacity at Survivor Series, perhaps even in one of the tag elimination matches. We'll talk a little bit more about that over the course of the next couple of weeks. Whether that's something that you want to see. I know that Vince McMahon himself was a little bit down, a little bit against the Survivor Series format. He thought that it had run its course, even though we're now it's coming in its 25th year, the Survivor Series. Of course, the first one all the way back in 1987 with Ravishing Rick Rude and Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff and Bam Bam Bigelow, managed by Oliver Humperdinck, amongst a bunch more. We'll get a little bit more into the Survivor Series talk as we close in on the event in a couple of weeks. Also, next week we'll preview Turning Point, as that's coming up also in a couple of weeks as well. We've got 3 matches set up so far for Turning Point. You've got Jeff Hardy against Jeff Jarrett. They've obviously been going back and forth ever since Hardy returned following his legal issues and obviously personal demons, to say the least. Velvet Sky, she's going to be defending the Knockouts title against a returning Gail Kim, who's now back in TNA after a not exactly notable run with WWE. And, of course, Mexican America, they're going to be teaming with Sarita to take on Inc. and Toxin. It appears to be a mixed 6-person tag match for the TNA tag team titles. Only in TNA. Only in TNA. That sounds like it's right in Vince Russo's wheelhouse, that particular match. But we'll see more as we go along. Obviously, this Thursday we've got the Bobby Roode, James Storm, the Beer Money Mega Powers collide, or something like that. Okay, maybe not, but yeah, you'll see James Storm defending the TNA title against Bobby Roode. And obviously, whoever wins that, I would imagine, would defend the title coming up at Turning Point in a couple of weeks. Well, coming up, we've got news and notes on the other side of a little bit of business. Got an open board at the moment, so we can certainly bring you in. And, of course, today in wrestling history, a couple of notable things. WCW back in the day, looking back at some of the Halloween Havocs, they loved coming to Philadelphia. I mean, Halloween Havoc 89, that was in the Philadelphia Civic Center. They'd been there quite a couple of times. 92, that was another notable one. We talked about the Thunderdome match a little bit earlier. Of course, 92 was the debut of the Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal. I'm sure you remember that one. And in that case, it was Sting facing Jake Roberts in what ended up being spun as a coal miner's glove match, which kind of shows why WWE rigs its Raw roulette wheel anytime they go out to Vegas, because I'm sure most people were wondering, what the heck is a coal miner's glove match? But in that one, Sting pinned Jake the Snake after Roberts was bitten by his own snake, a cobra, I believe, if my memory serves me right. Certainly an interesting one there. Some other noted, the other noted Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal match was the next year, Vader against Cactus Jack in a Texas death match, where steel chairs were involved as well as a taser, and that allowed Vader to beat Cactus Jack was taking all kinds of crazy shots and things even back then, closing in on 20 years ago. Very, very good stuff. Anyway, Bill, we up for a break? Or okay, we'll go ahead and take care of our second time out. We'll come back, take more of your calls. As I said, we got an open board, 215-949-3232, toll free at 888-922-2149. I think people are apparently making snowmen outside at this point with a little bit of snow that's coming up here through the Northeast. Unexpected here in the Philadelphia area, but certainly interesting nonetheless. Anyway, 215-949-3232, toll free at 888-922-2149. Those are the numbers to reach us. You can also check us out on the Facebook page at WBCB Pro Wrestling Weekly. And kind of a new wrinkle, as I said, starting with a couple of weeks ago, I'm finally able to get archives of the show up on YouTube. Just type in WBCB Pro Wrestling Weekly into the search engine, and you can get, the search slot on YouTube. All this technical stuff. I'm still working on it. But, yes, type in WBCB Pro Wrestling Weekly, and you'll have the last couple of shows popping up there. I have each segment, just that way you're not listening to a whole 50-some-odd minute block. So you'll have, 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there, 17 minutes here, including that interview from a couple of weeks ago with the one, the only Kurt Angle. We've got that up there as well. And I'll dig back into the past, get some of the other interviews that we've had over the course of the years, including Spike Dudley, Nunzio, among others. We'll get all those going for you as well over the course of the next few weeks. Plus, I still have those Sinomania interviews that I've got to get ready as well, including the Total Package Lex Luger. That's going to be coming up as well. For now, we'll be back with more Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.